Hello, good morning, and welcome to Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. It's 5:40 a.m. Central Standard Time, February 20th, 2019, last Thursday before Mardi Gras. Well, we know there was a parade last night. A woman was killed at the parade by trying to walk between. Witnesses say she tried to walk between the two floats. There was a tandem float where they take two floats and they hitch them together. The Super Crew Nix, NYX. And she tried to walk between them. Very bad idea. People are warned not to try to cross the street during a parade anyway. It's so dangerous. She tripped over the hitch and was crushed by the float and killed. Then they canceled the rest of the parade, which I think is going to anger people because they could have simply rerouted it. You have people that paid thousands sometimes of dollars to buy costumes and throws to ride in the parade. And the mayor was saying, oh, I think we'll all agree. I think you'll all agree that we had to cancel the rest of the play. I don't think people are going to agree with that. But she's shown that she's decidedly incompetent. It seems to be that way. I'm a neutral observer. So I just watch, and if somebody, she seems to be incredibly incompetent and not particularly bright, but that's not exactly unusual for major American cities to have grossly incompetent leadership. Anyway, these come out in the newspaper. These are parade bulletins, and they got a rundown of all the floats. Some people save these. You know how people collect things. I don't know why you would save it, but I guess people might say, well, I don't know why you save bottles and cans. Good point. Can't argue that. So these are parades coming up tonight, and they got the bulletins. So don't walk in front of the float, a moving vehicle that weighs tons. Okay. Crew of Chaos. Now, they use real floats with the wagons, with the carriage wheel, the wooden wagon wheels. All right. Not the modern with the truck and the rubber tires. They use an old. Now, this is Nostradamus. Nostradamus sees all. Nostradamus, crew of muses. Okay, I get it. This float is famous. This crew is famous because it's all women, and they hand out shoes, like high heel shoes and pumps that are decorated by hand. People collect those, just like Zulu throws the coconuts, hand decorated. Now here's another one with the real carriages, Knights of Babylon. And they're very elaborate floats. You can see that. Carriages with the wagon wheels. But it's going to be so cold tonight, I wouldn't dare go to a parade like that. All right, anyway, so that's that. Don't walk in front of floats. You get crushed. Don't walk in front of a truck. Don't walk in front of a car or a bus. All right. And I'm not trying to sound unsympathetic because I am sympathetic. We don't want anyone to die. But these are rules of the road. You don't walk in front of you don't try to dash across the street during a parade. It's just no good. No good. Here's Jack Daniel's Old Number 7. Well, you can see I'm at the end of the road on that, right? Got enough for what? One more taste challenge? I don't think any more can be done with this. Bought this at Walmart years ago. It was $21.99. William Kepley. Thank you, William, for watching or joining last night. What am I saying? Watching, joining. He might be watching now. He said it's much more expensive in North Carolina. It's not $21.99. Now here's Jim Beam Repeal Batch. I bought this at Walmart also in 2018 when it came out. It was $12.87. I don't think the price has gone up. Now it's a lot cheaper there because other stores had it for $17.99, like Albertsons. But $12.87. So I was happy. What did they say about Jack Daniel's Old Number 7? Because tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but Saturday, I'm going to do number 7. Oh, it says charcoal mellow, drop by drop, 10 feet of sugar maple charcoal. I've seen these barrels. It's like a big container. I think it's a wooden container. The charcoal's pressed together as tight as possible. Sugar maple, and it's dripped through. Then they matured in their handcrafted barrels, and that's not hype. Those barrels are made by hand over there. They make their own barrels. Other companies buy barrels. Does it matter? I'm sure it does not. It depends how they want to do it. And it's a balance of sweet and oaky flavor. And it's sweet. Yeah, I agree with that. We found no delivery retailers. Well, why would you need to have it delivered? Every store that sells liquor in America is going to have Jack Daniel's Old No. 7. Jim Beam Repeal Batch, non-chill filtered, 86 proof, aged. And then they're showing these old bottles from back before Prohibition. Beam Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, bottled in bond Beams, and bonded Beam Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. So they're trying to make it look like the old labels with a red band. Jim Beam Repeal Batch. All right. Jim Beam, okay, that's their major brand. That's been on the market since 1938, okay? But don't be under the illusion. The company did not have a whiskey called Jim Beam until 1938, but they still had lots of whiskey, bourbon whiskeys, and not just bourbon, corn whiskey and whatnot. And it was called Beams this and Beams that, just Beams, because there were other Beams, other people, not named James. All right. Get it? Okay, so, but Jim Beam became their most popular one. I got Beam's 8-star in the cabinet. No, I'm sorry, I used it all up. But there's another one, that's a blended. It's actually better than normal American blended whiskey, but it's young. It's only aged 2 years. 2 years. Jim Beam is aged 4 long, like Mila Kunis, that Russian immigrant. Oh, I'm sorry, she's from one of the Baltic states, but you know, a Soviet immigrant. Do I take issue with immigrants? No. She came here legally. So on. She said age 4 long years. I don't know if 4 years is what we would call long aging, but it's longer than 2. Twice the requirement, because the requirement for straight bourbon is what? 2 years minimum. These two bourbons. One is a Tennessee whiskey, which is bourbon. The other one is just Kentucky straight bourbon. They're aged at least 4 years. Voltron says, "Morning, brother. Now you're reviewing my stuff." Right. So let's look. Let's look. Oh, wow. There's daylight, but it's raining. I hope I can go walking, but I don't know. I'm not too confident for any time soon. Got to do a 1.5 miles today. Yeah. The weight is going well. I weighed myself this morning. 145.0. Exactly 145.0. I was very happy about that. I've been maintaining that for about 17 years. I had lost over 30 pounds. I used to be kind of chubby. And you might say, what's the secret? Not eating a whole lot like I used to, you know? It's the volume. You say, well, I paid $199.99 and I bought this diet packet and they told me to eat all these special foods and whatnot. Yeah. All right. Anyway, that is a deep. No, it's not deep. It's a moderately copper color. Well, yeah, I had just enough for a taste challenge, and that's it. No more Jack Daniel's Old No. 7. I ain't going by anymore. Not going by no more. Because there's so many other things to buy. So, you know, we know what Jack Daniel's tastes like. And this one is gold. This is lighter. This is lighter. Why would they be different shades of copper? Of level of darkness? Well, that makes sense because they're two different companies. They're both using white oak, but the char level can be different. And I said age at least 4 years. Then it's not the same exact number. And another thing to consider is that well, they have to be new barrels. It has to be new barrels. If they weren't new barrels, you wouldn't see the word bourbon on here. if I remember correctly, the United States has strict quality rules for bourbon. It's not really quality rules, it's just production rules because it could be low quality, you know. Thus, most bourbons are of quality. Yeah, they tend to be just because if you follow the production rules, it would kind of help with quality. So I tend to buy the cheaper stuff because it's hard to find bad bourbon, even though it exists. If bad bourbon exists, I'm not aware of it. Okay, you're saying it does. I've never had a bourbon that was bad. I've had cheap ones. Cheap. I got Bellows Kentucky Straight Bourbon in the cabinet. I was about to say refrigerator. In the cabinet right now. I bought that at Savannah Discount. $5.99 for a liter bottle. I'll repeat, $5.99 for a 1 liter bottle of Bellows Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey at Savannah Discount. Don't even waste your time going over there to try to find it, because they got a few cases in. They set it at $5.99, and you know how fast that was going. The guy tells me, "Hey, boss, you want to try this?" I looked and I said, "Oh, I've had Bellows before." But I went back to the shelf and I said, "Kentucky Straight Bourbon." I said, "Oof, the Bellows I have is the blended whiskey." I said, yeah, I want it. I said, "But what's the price?" They rang up, $5.99. I said, "Sale, you got it, you know." Can you find bourbon in America, straight bourbon, cheaper than $5.99 a bottle for a liter? It's impossible. You cannot do that. That's impossible. You say, "No, I know a guy who knows a guy, and he sells bourbon behind this warehouse for $2.99 a bottle." But then you ever notice that everyone who drinks it goes blind? All right. Jojo said, "Morning, Jay. I'll be going beer shopping tomorrow. Why Vian's to find a Hefeweiss beer." Okay. Coors Banquet and a Maple Stout are on my list. Sound like a pretty good lineup, I have to say. There's the Kansas City Southern Railroad. So let's go. I'm going to close my eyes because the shade will give it away. I think I'll be able to tell Jim Beam because 86 proof versus 80 is noticeable. You can pick up a little higher alcohol. You pick up a little more alcohol in body. Okay, my nose is bothering me, but not so bad that I can't smell. I can smell. Okay, it smells like Jack Daniels, meaning what? Maple sugar. Sugar maple, sugar maple, charcoal, sweet. When you think of Jack Daniels, think of real sweet children's breakfast cereal. Oh, it's sweet. Notice I never said it was bad. I just said sweet. There's a lot less vibrant sweetness in this aroma here. This one is just more mellowed out. Smells like charred oak. I don't know, though. I'm not so confident that I'm going to be flip about it. So my feeling is that I'm on the right track, but I'm going to taste it. I'm not going to call it. The other day I called it without even tasting it. It was so distinct. The two products were so distinct, there was no use even tasting it. You knew on the aroma only which was which. You say, "Oh, you're such a great taster." Isn't it true? No, I think it was a case of the two products were so different from one from another that anybody could have done it. If assuming they had tried the products before, how are you going to tell something apart if you're going in totally cold? You know what I mean? It wouldn't even make any sense. I never tasted either one, so let me tell them apart. How you going to do that? Okay. There's a lot more char on the nose here. Almost have to get it out of my nose. All right, let's go with the taste for that matter. Oh, man. Anytime I drink bourbon, and I don't ever drink it unless I'm doing a taste challenge. This is the truth. Like, I'm not really a bourbon drink. I'm not really a liquor drinker. I never sit down and say, "Oh, let me drink some liquor." You say, you're not a real man. Everybody does that. I know. I don't, though. I just do taste challenges. So if you said, well, that's eccentric, it is eccentric. How many people do you know that do this? I don't think too many, right? The only time I ever sit down and drink a drink is if I'm trying to get rid of something. Like, say, I got to get rid of this bottle. I can't stand looking at this 1/3 filled bottle. So I'll say, well, every Monday I'll take a few ounces of it. And then slowly it'll go away and I'll throw the bottle out. You know, so that's what I do. But that's almost like a utilitarian reason. I'm not even doing it for pleasure. I mean, I will enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? But otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. There goes the rain again, but golly gee. Oh, all right. That's why we call it a taste challenge, you know, because aroma can throw you, boy. Especially if your nose is a little messed up. But that's every day here in Louisiana with all this humidity. You just gonna live with science. Probably got to move to Arizona to get rid of that. Every time I taste bourbon, it tastes like cornbread and corn flour, cornmeal, corn grits. You might take that the wrong way, like I'm criticizing it. I'm not criticizing it. I'm saying that's what it tastes like. And I don't care all the bourbons I've ever tried, from Blanton's down to, you know, the $60 bottle of Blanton's to the $6 bottle of Bellows. They taste so much alike one to the other than different. Corn, corn, corn. You say, well, bourbon's mostly corn. It's at least 51% corn. Some of it might be 99% corn. That's right. So it's corn whiskey. Bourbon is corn whiskey for the most part. Could they have wheat in it? Yeah, of course. What about rye? Yep. What about any other kind of grain? Sure. There's no restriction. There's a requirement. Just read the Tax and Trade Bureau website. Has to be at least 51% corn. The other ingredients could be anything, any grain. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Could you make a bourbon out of 100% corn? Of course you could. Be no requirement against that. You know, no restriction against that. It's an algorithm, okay? That's all it is. You follow the algorithm, you got it. You're in like Flint. You can make the most high quality product on this planet with the most expensive ingredients ever purchased. Age it for 29 years. If you don't follow the requirements, it's not bourbon. Don't blame me. I didn't make the law. Okay, I know which is which, so I'll reveal it. Jojo said, oh, he already read that. Amy Smith says, so are you a passive aggressive hoarder? I'm not a hoarder. I don't hoard things, honestly. In fact, I went through this house about 10 years ago, I guess, and I went through everything. Am I going to ever read this book? If the answer was no, it's in the trash. And you say you should have given it to somebody. Look, ain't nobody was going to read it. This world has so many books. And any kind of thing, anything I went through here, anything I had, I said, am I going to use it? If the answer, and now if it was like pots and pans, I brought it to the thrift store, gave it to them. But it was in the trash. I mean, I filled the trash can for. So hoarding, no. No. I have no hoarding desire. I know people that are insane with that. Literally mad in their head with hoarding. I know some people that are on the tipping point with it, like they kind of crazy about it. It wouldn't take them that long to go crazy with it. Probably when they get older, like in their 70s, it'd be kind of crazy with hoarding, you know. But I have no interest in that. If you looked at my beer museum, all the back stock of beers I have, you'd say there ain't nothing in it. I know it don't exist. I have no beer museum. I have no back stock. Except I have one bottle of CBS from last year. But I'm going to drink it soon. Not saving that. Do I take issue with other people saving stuff? Why would I care? It's not my house. Now, if they were trying to save it here, I'd have an issue with it. If I had to go visit somebody and I had to walk around stuff that they're hoarding, I might have an issue with that. I wouldn't want to go over there. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. But anyway, that's your answer. Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm anti-hoarding, but I love watching the TV show. All right. Yeah, it's sort of like a perverse pleasure out of watching other people's craziness, you know, but I guess that's the way we are. All right. Well, I got the answer. This is the Jim Beam, and it's so corn. I didn't notice that before, like when I was drinking the Jim Beam, that it was so incredibly corn oriented. I mean, I thought it was corny because it's bourbon, so what do you expect? But I didn't realize it was like eating, you know how people take the corn on the cob and they roast it over the fire? Like if you go to Mexico, they do that a lot. When I've been to Mexico, they'll sell that. They have like a burner. Could be gas or charcoal. I don't know. It depends on who's doing it. And they got this corn, and it's like roasting. You eat it. It doesn't pop. It doesn't pop. But it's sort of like corn, like roasted corn. It's like, wow. Compared to Jack Daniels, it's really not that good. But compared to other things, it is. I can easily tell the difference between the two. The price and quality stands out. Oh, wait. I didn't read the other comment. I've been drinking the Jim Beam Repeal Batch over the last 6 days, comparing it to an Old Forester 100 proof bourbon. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Old Forester. Yeah. I love that stuff. Now, I'm going to feel kind of foolish if I get this wrong, but I'm not going to feel so bad about it because it is a blind taste test, and that's the risk you take when you go live, right? A lot of people do controlled videos where it's all planned out. They've already tested the products, you know what I'm saying? Like it's all scripted out, so there's no risk factor. I'm not going to name who they are, but some of y'all know who I'm talking about. It's more than one person. Then, you know, it's their channel. I don't care. I just know what the story is on it. I think this is Jim Beam. And it's so corn. Wow. But I'm picking up a higher proof. It's not super pleasant. It's not horrible. I mean, like we already said, we are all discussing this. Have you ever had a bad bourbon? Everybody's saying no. It's just levels of goodness. Like the worst bourbon I ever had was good. You know what I'm saying? Like people ask me, what's the best Major League Baseball stadium you ever been to, and what's the worst? Because I've been to games at like 39 of them. And I always start off talking about that by telling people, you have to remember the worst Major League Baseball stadium is great. It's like one of the best facilities you've ever been in your life. And you might say, well, I go to a lot of minor league ballparks, and those are good and fine, but you can't, it's so much better. It's like, it's a different world. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that. So what we're talking about when we say major league ballparks is that the worst of them is still in the A range. Okay. So it's, or maybe at the worst case scenario, a B. When we went to Fenway Park the first time in 2003, yeah, it was pretty run down. We scored it a C. It was average. It was, but they renovated it heavily, cleaned it up, did a nice job. So when I went back, 10 years later, well, it was in the 8 range. So it's a reference point. It's a way of looking at it. And so what I'm saying is the worst bourbon ever that I've had was really good. So this is fine, you know, but it's not up to this level. So I'm saying that's Jim Beam, and I'm saying this is Jack Daniel. Okay, I got to get off of this. I first drank Old Forester Rye 100 proof, and that was awesome. I should compare that to the 100 proof bourbon. I think you should. Kind of a comparison contrast. Woodford Reserve is pretty damn smooth. I did that 2 days ago, Woodford Reserve. It's pretty good stuff. I like it, especially since I didn't pay for the bottle. Thank you, Sonia. So when I look over here, it should say JB. Jim Beam, JB. Oh. How about that Astros scandal? How about that Democratic debate? I'm trying to change the subject. You say you got it wrong, huh? Yeah. Ha ha. Yikes. Yippee-ki-yay, mother, father. Well, ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, yeah, yeah, yeah. So this was the Jack Daniels, huh? Okay. Oh, well. So I was complaining because I said the Jim Beam was so corn. But it was the Jack Daniels that was so corn. And William Kepley said it was 80% corn from what he saw. And after tasting that, I believe it. Wild Turkey 101 never does me wrong. No, you're right about that. Astros are going to take some beatings, just like the Democrats are going to take their deserved beatings. Never count all your eggs. Never count your chickens for the eggs hatch, but I think they're in big trouble, you know, for this upcoming presidential election. From what I'm looking at, I'm not voting for the Democrats or the Republicans. I'm not voting for Trump or any of the challenges. But so looking at it from a neutral position or a semi-neutral, obviously, I would lean more towards Trump. I wouldn't lean towards international socialism, but even though he does entertain some aspects of that, but it looks like they're going to get whipped pretty bad, you know. But you never know, you know. Never know. But they got a pretty weak. I mean, it's like in the past when I was looking at Republicans, they always put out really poor product, you know, like they had 1996. Bob Dole. I said they're just throwing it, you know. That's like taking a dive. That's like the boxing match, you know, a phantom punch, right? With Cassius Clay and you know, I'll get his name, but where the guy took a dive. I mean, that's, and then in 04 with Kerry, that was sort of like throwing in the towel, like just putting anybody up there. Real poor challenger. And then you had McCain. Say people now, but there's enough people out there that can sense crazy, you know. Then Romney, that was a throwaway, you know. So when you're putting up bad competition, it's like boxing. You say he's a great boxer. Yeah, but he hasn't fought anybody. He's fighting all these scrubs, you know. So if they're going to put up a weak lineup and run them against Trump, they're just going to get chopped apart, you know. So, but anyways, yeah, the Bush family kind of makes the Republicans look pretty brutal because of everything they did. Yeah, they're like old-time Yankee Republicans, the Bush family, old establishment, well-connected secret society Republicans. They're like the real Republicans. You know, the Bush family is like the 1855 Republicans. You know what I'm saying? International banking and imperialist Republican. That they're like the true what the Republican Party was founded on. Banking, conspiracy, that kind of thing. And then, of course, you had Nixon that did the Southern strategy and all that kind of changed the perception of it. But anyway, I don't want to get into all this. This is about bourbon, you know. Oil tycoon. You say, well, the Democrats have a bunch of billionaires and millionaires. Yeah, I know. I realize that. I'm not aloof to what's happening. All right. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Say no more, say no more. Anyway, all right. So I couldn't tell them apart. Oh, well. Now, if I can't tell them apart, what does that mean? You say, well, it either means you don't know what you're doing, strong possibility, but I still don't think that's the case. Or secondly, they're not that different one from another, and you should just shop price. Now, that, I think, is the key to the riddle. You could pay $21.99. You say, I got that label. I got that label. I got that choo-choo. I got that choo-choo. Well, go ahead. Get the label. If you pay. Or you could pay $12.87 at Walmart and get this. Is it just as good as Jack Daniels? Yes. It's quite obviously just as good as Jack Daniels. Maybe better. But it's so close, it's a draw. It's a tie. So there you go. You can pay twice as much or nearly twice as much and get nothing better. So if I was buying one of these, I'd go with the cheaper one. I would go with the Jim Beam Repeal Batch. So Jim Beam Repeal Batch wins by default. I couldn't tell them apart. It's a lot cheaper. The quality's there. And I was fussing about the corn. Now, I did fuss about the corn. What did I say about Jack Daniels when I thought it was Jim Beam? I said corn, 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 corn. I'm drowning in corn. And that was the JD. Well, there you go. That's a lesson right there. The Democrats just... Okay, well, I'm not entertaining that kind of... I got to get back to planet Earth now, so... It's pretty nice for the price. Right. All right. Thanks, y'all.